You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shemaiah Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shemaiah Reed.
Welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. Once again, we are here today, and we are joined by a true honored guest today. We're joined by one of the sharpest minds in modern politics, former Speaker of the House, best-selling author and strategist, Newt Gingrich. He's going to be talking about his latest book, Trump's Triumph, America's Greatest Comeback. Sir, thank you for your time. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and it's wonderful to talk with you and have a chance to talk about Trump's triumph, because I think it's a very important book at helping people understand where we are, how we got here, and where we're going.
And I appreciate you saying that. When you think about your fair share time witnessing history, what do you believe made Trump's return not just a comeback, but a defining moment in American history?
Well, I think when you've got a guy who comes out of nowhere as a businessman, beats 16 other Republicans for the nomination, beats Hillary Clinton in the general election, has the FBI and the CIA trying to destroy him, breaking the law, has the New York Times and the Washington Post publishing lies and getting Pulitzer Prizes for it, going through a 2-year investigation, being impeached twice, losing in what I think was a rigged election, not necessarily stolen, but clearly rigged. And then there are 4 efforts to put him in jail, 2 efforts to kill him, and he's still there. I mean, I think the American people, that day at Butler, when he stood there with blood streaming down his face with his fist up in the air, chanting, fight, 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 I think at that moment, a majority of the American people decided this guy was real, he was courageous, and he deserved their support. And so he won an amazing victory. Remember, in 2024, he both defeats the incumbent president, Joe Biden, pivots, and then defeats the incumbent vice president, Kamala Harris. I mean, that's never been done in American history. It's a remarkable achievement. And now he's back in the White House.
What do you believe Trump was able to recognize in the American people that D.C. couldn't or wouldn't?
Well, one of the reasons I wrote Trump's Triumph was to try to, the book's 50% about the past, how did we get here, and 50% about the future, where are we going? And I wanted to explain, Trump instinctively understood, partly because he had done The Apprentice for 13 years on NBC. He'd always been a public figure. He was a great salesman. And he instinctively understood that everyday working Americans felt that they were cheated. They felt that the elites looked down on them. They felt that their children were going off to school to be coerced into radical values. And they wanted a champion who could talk their language and at the same time had the courage to fight for really deep change in Washington and in the national establishment. And I think that instinct on his part, which goes back to the fact that when he was in real estate, he was in construction more than finance. So he talked to blue-collar workers. He talked to the people who built buildings or people who paved parking lots. There's a great sequence he did one time for Oprah where you can see it on YouTube, where he goes out and he wears all the different uniforms of the people at one of his hotels, and he works in the kitchen. He actually cleans a room with a maid showing him what to do, and he gets dressed up and walks a dog for one of the ladies. And it's this great moment. He comes back and he gives her dog back to her, and he says, "Do I get a tip?" So I mean, Trump is a guy who's very comfortable with everyday Americans in a way that most elitists can't understand, which is why when he went to McDonald's and passed French fries out the window, for him, that was perfectly natural, because he's actually a guy who eats McDonald's and eats Wendy's. This wasn't, he wasn't showing anything. And of course, then when Joe Biden referred to Trump supporters as garbage, they promptly found a garbage truck, put a Trump sign on it. He got in. I mean, he gets more free publicity than any candidate in history could ever buy with paid ads. It's just astonishing.
Once again, back to the show, I'm talking to former Speaker of the House, best-selling author and strategist Newt Gingrich, and all about his new book, Trump's Triumph, America's Greatest Comeback. My next question for you, Mr. Speaker, is when you look at Americans today, do you feel that more Americans are drifting towards or away from conservative values, and what is driving that?
Well, I think more Americans are drifting towards conservative values for two very different reasons. One is, and you see this with particularly younger men in their early 20s, where there's a huge increase in people who are religious and who are practicing Christians. I think that on the one hand, they are driven away by the sense that a drug-addicted, casual sex, lays around playing video games, don't have any ambition. That kind of world, in the end, this fails. It leads to psychosis and it leads to suicides. And so I think the younger folks are looking at it going, that just doesn't work. I think at the same time, older people look around and they realize you can't afford to keep running up this debt. You can't afford to have these bureaucrats screwing everything up. And you can't afford to have college professors brainwashing your children. So there's been, I think, a huge increase. Part of it is in conservatism, and part of it is in anti-liberalism. And I always tell people, it's not that Trump is a great conservative. He doesn't read Buckley or subscribe to National Review. But Trump is the most effective anti-liberal in my lifetime. And he gets up every morning and he knows this stuff just isn't right. And he has the guts and the energy and the drive to actually change it. And that's why when I wrote Trump's Triumph, America's Greatest Comeback, I was trying to communicate both how amazing it was that we got here, but also where I think, where I project he's going to take us and lead us. And I think the American people, by and large, are going to go with him. And I just wrote a newsletter at Gingrich 360 pointing out that there are 3 polls out yesterday that show that the country, Trump has the highest right track in the history of Rasmussen polling. There's now 50% of the country thinks we're on the right track. They have never in the history of the poll had anything get to 50%. And there are 3 polls that came out yesterday that show Trump's approval now in the 52 to 56% range. And so the folks in the Washington, New York, Harvard corridor are just stunned and don't know what to do because they, of course, think this is horrible and they think this is terrible. They can't imagine that the American people actually are in favor of what Trump's doing.
One last cool question for you is, with the kind of success you've been able to have, when you look at the book, Trump's Triumph, what one lesson you hope will resonate beyond party lines from Democrats, independents, and Republicans alike?
I hope they'll realize that Lincoln was right, that we want government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that means that leaders have to pay attention to popular sentiment. Lincoln once said, with popular sentiment, nothing can fail. Without popular sentiment, nothing can succeed. And I think that's the heart of America. We are a country of the people. We are governed on behalf of the people. And anybody who tries to govern us against the people, in the end, will be repudiated.
Once again, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, all about his book, Trump's Triumph, America's Greatest Comeback. Once again, I want to say to you, sir, thank you for your time.
Great to be with you.